Good morning, everyone. My name is Martina Rinascimento, a digital interaction design student coming from Politecnico di Milano, and in a few minutes I'm going to be talking about the social value and community-driven impact that XR technologies can bring on when adopted by museums and cultural institutions. Over the past few decades, technological advancement has progressed at an unprecedented pace, permeating every aspect of our professional and private lives, and thus reshaping the way individuals consume information and experience content in everyday life. It's a fact that how technology evolves, so too does the public. The new digitalized public has access to way more input and stimuli than in the past, and it results in being more immediate and, above all, more demanding, continuously selecting the content to engage with that needs to be relevant, novel, and emotionally impactful. Citizens are now active participants, drawn to content that involves them directly, provokes thought, or provides a unique experience, and as a part of the society, also museums and cultural institutions have to follow and adapt to this public-driven transformation. As reported on this slide, museums can no longer afford to remain static repositories of information, but must become platforms for participatory and shared experiences. Nevertheless, museums have always played the role of holders and savers of collective and shared memory and culture. The latter is protected, nurtured, and returned to the community of visitors, but cannot anymore be displayed into traditional assets and exhibitions dynamics. With the help of new, engaging technologies and methods, museums can create new forms of learning consistent with contemporary changes in values, attitudes, and public awareness, breaking down demographic, social, and cultural barriers. In order to keep up with this transformative process led by new technologies and new needs and expectations of the visiting public, museums started exploring new realms for heritage representation, dissemination, and preservation. From that point on, the focus has been to transcend traditional ways to communicate with the public and manage cultural heritage and artifacts, and follow or design new paths that would engage visitors' senses and give them back a new educational and unforgettable museum experience. Among these new practices, the dimension of XR, extended reality, is taking over and gaining more and more success and popularity. With this umbrella term, we are addressing to a wide spectrum of reality, tools and methodologies. In XR spectrum, we can jump from one extent, like VR, virtual reality, that allows the digital reconstruction of a virtual environment, substituting the physical one, to another, like AR, augmented reality, that, as the word suggests, augments physical environments with digital elements juxtaposed. XR experiences can greatly differ one another, starting from the tool and equipment employed that can be either worn by the user, such as head-mounted displays and visors to achieve an immersive 360 point of view, or they can be accessible from portable devices like mobile phones or websites. Or moreover, they can cover much larger surfaces like building facades. Besides their differences, they similarly achieve in bringing back to life cultural heritage, stimulating users' curiosity and senses, and inviting them to interact with artifacts in a more natural and vivid way, while improving emotional engagement and learning activities. Now we will cover some examples demonstrating how XR experiences can impact on cultural heritage dissemination and bring social value and cohesion in the visiting public. 1923 Past Future is an example of how VR technology can shed new light on the past of a cultural institution to tell its story to those who have not experienced it, and also convey its relevance as a place and crossroads of people and culture in an important time window. In this VR experience, visitors can trace the history of the Triennale di Milano from contemporary times to its founding in 1923, either by walking through its halls, visiting the many exhibitions that have followed one another over time, or by witnessing or taking part in historical events involving the institutions, such as the bombing during the war and the occupation of 68. A building that has meant so much and still means so much to citizens and the city, a true focal point and landmark for culture and art, is thus preserved forever in time, ready to be told to ever new visitors. VR technologies can be indispensable tools for recovering and saving distant archaeological sites over time, recounting their architectural status through the passage of time, and being a tool for formulating and representing hypotheses. Such is the case with connecting objects, times and places, a VR application resulting from the collaboration between Politecnico di Torino and the Museo Egizio di Torino, in which visitors can wander and explore the digital reconstructions of the Temple of Ptah in Luxor, whilst getting to know more about the site, its geographical and religious context, and the history lying behind the statuary group that time originally housed as a secondary location. Thanks to a teleportation mechanism that can be activated by the visitor using the controllers, the public can view the two hypothetical arrangements of the statue group depicting the goddess Sekhmet within the site, and that today are saved and exhibited in the Galleria dei Re at Museo Egizio di Torino. Following in this case study, an AR game mobile-based engage children and young visitors to take part to an adventure and explore the Museo del Giocattolo of Zagarolo. This is a pilot project in which AR, gamification and cultural storytelling are intertwined to introduce young children and visitors to the artifacts on display in the museum. In fact, players must wander the halls of the museum looking for QR codes that, once framed, will make exhibits come to life that will help the player find clues, act accordingly both in real life and in the game, to solve the mystery. This project demonstrates how these technologies and interactions can be scaled to many more museums, independently of the exhibitions they display, and serve as an educational yet engaging tool to make visitors get in touch with museum spaces and values from their early age. An additional example of AR is video mapping, which relies on the projection of digital content, sometimes interactive, onto any surface, buildings, monuments, or everyday objects to share with the audience an engaging audiovisual narrative and create a multimedia and affective dialogue that can connect people, places, and collective cultural heritage. La Santa e la Città is a projection mapping by Old Agency which celebrates the bond between the city of Palermo and its patron saint Santa Rosalia by recreating and projecting scenes, places and topical moments of the tradition and legend onto the facade of Palazzo Bonocore. This project draws on local roots and through spectacular multimedia creations gives new life to tradition, establishing an architectural, symbolic and spiritual dialogue, almost intimate, between viewer and projection, and consolidating the bond between citizenship and place. To conclude, independently from the tools chosen, XR technologies are capable of creating or strengthening the link between the public and culture, and many actors can benefit from the employment of technologies in museums institutions. From a community-driven perspective, museums are able to bridge and unite people with different backgrounds and cultural literacy, and shortening the distances and technological divide that characterize the public. From a scientific and museum-driven perspective, these cultural institutions can promote tools for archiving and preserving heritage from environmental threats or human negligence, facilitate the exchange of information and comparison between members of the scientific community, and provide them with time-readable visualization and representation tools. And finally, translate any tangible artifact or volatile knowledge into its digital double in such a way that this is preserved forever and can be enjoyed by the visiting public thanks to amazing patterns and compositions that remain vivid in their memories.